What's going on, everyone? Fearless Football Forecast here. And today we're going to be talking about the week one preseason rookie wide receivers. We're going to be talking about the first round talents. We're going to be talking about players that impressed us. And thirdly, we're going to be talking about some receivers that might end up making rosters that otherwise we wouldn't have thought did. Now, before we get into this video, just reminding everyone to subscribe and go check out our quarterback reaction video. It was great. It's already on the channel. And now introducing the round one wide receivers.
Yeah, so since all of them performed pretty similarly, they didn't get much playing time. We're just going to run through them for you. JSN, 3 catches, 25 yards. Zay Flower, he had one catch that was considered a rushing attempt because he was behind the line of scrimmage and it was a backwards pass. He had that one catch for 1 yard, or one rush for 1 yard, as the stat sheet says. Quinten Johnston had 3 catches for 10 yards and a touchdown. And Jordan Addison had one catch for 22 yards. And then he also made a catch that they called incomplete that I don't think was incomplete. So, yeah, really for me, and I don't know exactly what your feeling on this is, but with first round wide receivers, I'm not looking for them to light it up by any means. You just kind of want to see the flashes and kind of see them get loose. Like JSN 3 for 25 was perfect for me because it just shows that he's comfortable on an NFL field in that sense.
He was
Um,
running some good routes too. Like a lot of
exactly.
times he was open and just wasn't getting targeted. And I was watching him mostly.
Right. You want to see more the player, not necessarily what the stat sheet says, because, most of these guys only play, a couple drives here and there since most of them are slated to get a lot of time. Is there one that specifically stuck out to you out of these first round guys?
I would have to say Addison, because like you
I agree.
mentioned, that incomplete pass that was really a beautiful toe tap. It's crazy because they only showed it once. They didn't replay it at all. They didn't say that anyone should challenge it. They kind of just swept it under the rug right after it happened. But that was a beautiful out route by him, and he touched his toes down like as he was probably like this this horizontal to the
No,
ground.
it's crazy.
Whereas Quinten Johnston, he kind of just stumbled his way into the end zone, but it's good to see that he's, picking up steam and that they're using him. Then Jigba missed the only like pass that would have actually been significant. He had like a little swing route and then with a lot of, empty space around him, ended up dropping that one. I'm sure he wished that he got that one back. That could have been a highlight reel play, similar to the DJ Moore play that we saw in the Bears preseason game. But yeah, overall, I would say Addison out of those guys.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm really high. I think we're both really high on Jordan Addison this year, and that's exactly what I wanted to see from him. Just him out there trying to make some plays. I really think that he has the potential to have a great year. And I agree. Quinten Johnston, what was nice about him is, he had that, he made that nice stutter step move for that touchdown. And it really just shows that considering that he's going to be the third receiver, honestly, Eckler is probably going to be the third priority for defenses over him. Just shows that he could put up a lot of production this season in an offense that we expect is going to be fantastic.
And then to jump to players that stood out, players that we're going to talk about a little bit more to an extent. First of all, you got to talk about Tank Dell. I mean, he was very impressive to say the least. I texted you at first. I was like, damn, John Mechie's looking good. And then we were like, wait a minute, that's Tank Dell. He had 5 receptions for 65 yards and a touchdown. Really showed everything that you would want to see from a receiver of his stature. He was fast. He was shifty. He made great catches in tight spaces. He was running pretty crisp routes. And then the ball concentration that he had during that touchdown was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, at one point it bounced off of the defender's back, was on the side of his leg, and then he ended up catching it. Very similar like the old Gary Barnidge touchdown from like 2015 with the Browns. But that was a hell of a play. And it wasn't just that play. That play capped off what was an amazing 2 drives of performance from him. I think that he's going to, see the field a good bit. What we really wonder is Mechie going to be the guy playing, like using those routes in the first string offense? or is Tank going to end up taking over that role? Because it's kind of hard to have two guys that are doing the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he looked really good. He was just open. He got open and he made plays, and you love to see it. I mean, I go back to I remember when the Senior Bowl was happening, and you would like listen into the coverage. They were asking cornerbacks like who's the toughest guy to defend, and a lot of them said Tank Dell. Really, the only reason he slipped to the third round, he was a productive guy. He's got all the talent. He's just so small. But to see it on an NFL field, even though you're not going up against the best competition, it really does make you go, okay. I mean, and I'm pretty excited to see. Mechie isn't a rookie, but like you said, Mechie, he didn't play last year because he got sick. So him and Dell, it's going to be really fun to see what their routes they're running, where they're lining up, and to see because neither of them are a true like X. So I feel like maybe
Nico
Tank
Collins
Dell's
is still going to be the X.
exactly. So it's going to be funny to see if they're just getting peppered with targets and they're just going to use Nico as a decoy, which is kind of the way I'm leaning. So I'm excited to see, especially even in these next couple weeks, how Tank can do. But I'm excited to see how this offense looks in the regular season as well.
And the next guy comes from an offense that we're really excited to see as well. A player that we've both been high on for a long time, but even before the NFL draft. Player that ended up falling all the way to the 6th round to the New Orleans Saints, A.T. Perry. He had 6 receptions for 70 yards and a touchdown, and that touchdown was great. Always knew that he was, a quintessential X receiver, great on the outside. What I didn't know and what I didn't see in his college tape was that burst of speed that he had. Like that touchdown was amazing. He beat that corner by about 15 yards, and Derek Carr threw a beautiful pass. The way that I've been saying I see Perry's career this season is that he starts out being like the backup Michael Thomas, basically. And I still think Olave is the true number 1 on the team, and I don't think that's going to change. I think Olave is going to be great. Derek Carr actually had 2 nice passes to Olave today as well. But A.T. Perry, I think, is going to take over the role that Michael Thomas had all these years with the slant routes and just a lot of, hitch routes and fades. I think that Perry's going to become that guy. So it's obviously great to see him out there working with the first team offense. I wasn't expecting him to, be out there with the ones, but he did, and he ran great and outperformed Olave and Michael Thomas. So.
Yeah, I mean, he looked great. And one of the things that you said, and I completely agree, is that, he's going to be like the new big guy on the team when Michael Thomas, eventually moves on. But the thing with Michael Thomas being that guy right now is he gets injured just walking onto the field sometimes. So there's a chance that he could get significant playing time this season. And like you said, this is a guy who we both thought was extremely talented, but then, every once in a while, guys like this, they fall in the draft and it can really be a career killer. Seeing him get significant playing time early on, seeing how good he was, obviously that's going to stand out to the coaches. I think if he ends up playing significant time this year, that he's going to make a mark, like he's going to be a productive receiver. So it just really made me that much more excited. I was kind of, when he went to the Saints and he got drafted in the 6th round, I was kind of bummed out. I was like, man, is he going to see the field? Is he going to get buried by all these guys? They have Shaheed, who is their deep threat, Thomas, Olave. But seeing how productive he was in this game, obviously, it's a preseason game, but we both think he has the talent. So I'm just excited to see, hopefully this gets him more in-season playing time, and I think that he will truly make an impact if he gets that playing time.
Yeah, and the last thing that I'll mention just about him specifically is that we talked about all those first-round receivers and the fact that they were running against first-team defenses, and they didn't do much. And then we just talked about Tank Dell, who, yes, he did great, but that was against the 2nd and 3rd strings. The fact that A.T. Perry went out there against the first defense, was out there with Derek Carr, was out there with Olave and Michael Thomas next to him and still performed that well. That's actually like something that I'm just thinking of right now, is that he was actually out there with the ones, which is crazy. Another player similar to Tank Dell who had a good drive and a half, who he was out there with the 2s and 3s as well. But Puka Nacua, who I know a lot of people in the dynasty community have really been liking him for a while. Personally, I don't think that he's going to be that great in the NFL, but he looked pretty good. He had 3 receptions for 32 yards and a touchdown. I don't think that those 3 receptions and 30 yards, really display what he did out there, because he was making some very like every single one of those catches was a contested catch. And he had to break away at the very last second in order to catch every single one of those passes. So I think he looked pretty good. Pretty serviceable guy. He will probably make the team.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he's just strong at the catch point. He knows how to. He wasn't a great separator, but at the end of the day, like you said, when the ball was coming, he could get that quick step into where he could separate himself just a touch to where he could put himself into position to make the catch. Yeah, I think he looks solid, and like you said, a lot of people have been saying that he could get significant playing time, and you know what? If he keeps playing, if he can play like the way he did today, I don't see why not.
Oh, yeah. And then I know that you want to talk about 3 receivers who actually impressed you. 2 of them impressed you, and then the other one may have been outshined by his teammate.
Yeah, so first I'll just get into Trey Palmer, Nebraska receiver. He's buried on the depth chart. He's obviously playing behind Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, 2 great receivers. But he had that awesome catch in the back of the end zone for that touchdown. He ended up having 4 catches for 33 yards and a touchdown. But he was a guy who, again, you're hyped for the talent, and then they go later on in the draft, and you're kind of bummed out. But I was excited to see him be able to make a mark like that. And I think that he's a guy who, again, if he gets significant playing time, if he becomes somehow that 3rd receiver, I think that he can be productive in the NFL. And then the last couple guys I wanted to talk about was Kansas City. Kansas City is my 2nd favorite team. I think I've said this already. I really try to stay locked in over there. Rashee Rice looked good. He had 3 catches for 30 yards, but he didn't really have any like wow plays, which again, he was a 2nd rounder. He didn't play too much. But the other guy that did play for a significant chunk of the game, and I really wanted to lock in on because he's on the roster bubble, is Nico Remigio. He had 4 catches for 71 yards. And the main reason I want to talk about him is because the receiving core for the Chiefs this year, they just have they obviously don't have like a stud. Like that's why D-Hop was projected to maybe go to him. But they just have like a bunch of good guys. Like Rashee Rice, to me, I think he passed the eye test. I think that he'll be a solid contributor, but obviously not a number 1. Sky Moore, I think, is going to take a step forward. All those guys, Watson, Justin Ross looks solid. He had that touchdown. But with Remigio is, like I said, he's on the roster bubble, but he's also a special teamer. So this is something that could give him an edge. A lot of the beat reporters are talking about, Andy Reid always keeps 6 receivers at most. I think he's only kept 7 receivers. I'm pretty sure only 1 time in his entire career, NFL-wise. But a lot of people are saying there's just so many talented guys that they could keep a 7th receiver. And when you have the special team prowess that Remigio had, he had that awesome 22, 25-yard catch that he made, showing splash plays like that. He might force himself onto this roster. So I'm excited to see, the next 2 weeks, if he keeps playing like he played today, I think that he'll carve out a roster spot for himself.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, the fact that he has the special teams ability would be a no-brainer to keep him on the roster. And overall, we may see more of these guys in the next couple weeks. And we did our quarterback video, like I mentioned earlier, so go check that out. We would have made a running back video had we seen a little bit more from everyone. Really, Kendre Miller just played for a second and got injured. Didn't see much. Obviously, no Bijan this week, no Roshan. And I guess the only standout would be Deuce Vaughn. He had a pretty solid game and a touchdown. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share. And we will see you all in the next video.